He who overcomes will inherit all this, and I will be his God, and he will be my son. But the cowardly, the unbelieving, the vile, the murderers, the sexually immoral, those who practice magic arts, the idolaters, and all liars, their place will be the fiery lake of burning sulfur. This is the second death. Aren't you guys serve a loving God? Burning sulfur. We've gone from boring to not applicable to pretty nasty. I'm not so sure about this Bible. What's going on back there, by the way? We're supposed to fall for that diversion. But you didn't. BJ's back. Actually, what caused me to get out of here was some chubby buddy of mine back there flashed a candy bar at me and he beat me, so I had to run a mile. How long was I gone? 4 minutes? Yeah, I'm down to a 4-minute mile right now. Lost some weight since high school. In fact, check this out. Oh, where'd I go? Well, I got a ways to go yet. That guy AJ just started out here again. I was going to give him some advice for how to read the Bible, but he just kind of took off. So I guess I'll let you know instead. So I'll just give you some tips here. Now, I'm not like an authority on this. I'm not a pastor or anything, but I'll just give you some tips that have helped me interpreting the Bible. Obviously, you have to be a good interpreter. That's pretty vague. Have you ever heard anyone say, this is your interpretation? It just drives me bonkers. Do we have any speeders in here? Raise your hands. I see we've got about 20 sinners and about 15 liars in this section. Well, let's just suppose you got pulled over for speeding. Try using that line in the cop. Sir, I had you clocked at 75 and a 30. Well, that's just your interpretation. How does that go over? You might be looking at the speedometer wrong, the person next to you might be looking at the speedometer wrong, and the cop might even have you wrong. But the one true interpretation is how fast you're actually going. And so it is with the Bible. You can come to the text with all your presuppositions and whatever you want to call them, but there's one correct interpretation for every passage in the Bible. Any given passage might have many different layers of meaning, but it only has one correct interpretation. So how do we get at that interpretation? What's the meaning of the text? The meaning is what the author meant it to mean. It's because the Bible wasn't written to us, but it was written for us. So how are we accurate interpreters? Well, we have to put things in context. A few weeks ago, I was working on the farm sharpening drill bits for my dad. How many of you guys know what drill bits are? Nice. Okay. I did this for hours and hours, but none of them seemed to get sharp. Then I came across this passage. If the iron is blunt, and one does not sharpen the edge, he must use more strength. I'm serious, this is a true story. I came across this passage. So I said, well, let's give it a shot. So I put some more muscle into it. I'm grinding the drill bits, and I'm like, what the heck? The drill bits are getting duller and duller. But you know what? I failed to put it in context. Wisdom helps one to succeed. Next day, my wise old dad comes up to me and said, oh, come on, Beach, you're doing it too hard. Take it easy, don't you know? So I took it easy. It worked. And I got a big old yeah out of it. So you have to read the surrounding text if you're going to understand the passage. But you also have to have a basic understanding of ancient culture. The Old Testament was written in an ancient Near Eastern, rural, tribal culture. There's a massive culture gap there. So to understand the text, we have to have at least a basic appreciation for the culture. We also have to understand what type of literature we're reading. There's no such thing as a biblical genre, okay? The Bible contains prophecy, biography, history, all sorts of different things. So you have to take that into account too. Also have to pay close attention to words. Now, I realize most of us don't have access to the original languages, but it's good to pay attention and slowly read each word. And lastly, just take good advice from people who know the Bible. See those fine gentlemen in the back there? Those are called youth pastors, all right? If you don't understand a passage, or if you have questions about the Bible, they would be good people to talk to, and I'm sure they'd be delighted to talk to you about that. And by the way, read with a purpose. It's best not to just look up random verses. God isn't a genie in the bottle. If you're struggling with something, if you're looking for a particular answer, get a Bible with a concordance in the back. Look up passages in areas that you're struggling with or you have questions about, and do it that way. So tonight, that's the introduction. I'll give you an idea. I wish I would spend the passage to be shorter than last week. But we're going to put these principles into action and look at one particular passage in Daniel. As I said, it's vital that we put things in context. So we're going to start right from the beginning. So, the beginning. Creation. Anyone want to put a date on that? I have no idea. Flood. Now we're in Genesis 6. All right. 2000 to 1800 BC, we have Abraham. Here in Genesis 12 to 15, God just kind of calls Abraham. He's walking around the desert. He says, I'll make a great nation of you. He becomes the father of the Israelite people. In 1445 BC, or something around there, we have the Exodus. So Abraham's descendants are kind of carted into Egypt. God delivers them out of Egypt in 1445, and he makes a covenant with them. Now, a covenant is like a modern-day marriage, almost something like that. It's an agreement between two parties, and if you don't meet the sides of the agreement, the covenant's broken. So they make a covenant with God around this time. They also institute what's known as Passover. They have different months than we do, but on Nisan 10, that's the name of the month, day of the month, they selected a spotless lamb. All right? Nisan 14, they sacrifice the lamb. And what they did is the angel of God would go over the camp in Egypt. All the firstborn males for the Egyptians were slaughtered, but the Israelite people were covered by the sacrificial lamb, by the blood of the lamb. And then on Nisan 16, they have another offering. It's called the first fruits offering. Now this is probably extremely boring at this point. It doesn't make any sense, but soon it will. In around 1000 BC, the Jews select a king and the Israelite nation is established. But throughout this time, they are slowly breaking the covenant with God. They are sinning against God. They are doing what he said they shouldn't do in the law. And so finally, in 586, a country called Babylonia takes out Judah being half of Israel, and Jerusalem is wiped out at this time as well.